Hello, everyone. É um dia maravilhoso hoje estar aqui com vocês. Eu comecei no inglês e vou terminar no inglês. O webinar é todo no inglês, tá? A gente vai trazer dois profissionais do mercado americano que vão falar um pouco do país, oportunidades e, assim, um evento que a gente está fazendo em breve também, eles vão falar um pouquinho, mas muito mais de oportunidades para vocês. E as pessoas que eu vou apresentar hoje aqui são pessoas que vocês podem ser, de repente, um próximo ajuda de vocês na entrada no país, são pessoas que vocês podem confiar que a gente tem uma referência excelente deles, tá? Então, só para vocês entenderem, o webinar, ele vai ser uma apresentação dessas duas pessoas falando desses mercados. Aí eu peço que vocês, se puderem fazer a pergunta em inglês, se não faz em inglês, a gente traduz para o português. Peço que façam muitas perguntas, aproveitem esse tempo para realmente entender um pouco do mercado. E são os dois profissionais que têm muita experiência, tá? Uma delas é a Maria Sullivan, que ela trabalha já com algumas empresas brasileiras que estão no nosso portfólio, e eu convido vocês para conhecê-la e depois marcar uma reunião individual com ela. E o outro é o Phillip, que ele é responsável pela parte de distribuidores nos Estados Unidos. Ele é como se fosse o head de solution providers, que é o que significa distribuidores hoje nos Estados Unidos. Então, acho que vai ser bem interessante para vocês também conhecerem o Phillip, tá? Algumas empresas brasileiras já conhecem. Então, agora, só para vocês entenderem, eu vou começar no inglês, apresentando eles dois, e aí a Maria e o Phillip fazem a apresentação. A gente continua aqui sempre no backstage para ajudar no que for necessário durante a apresentação, e espero que seja um grande sucesso, o início, talvez, das atividades de muitos de vocês que estão aqui agora ou que vão assistir mais tarde nos Estados Unidos, tá? Então, welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. We have an amazing webinar with two fantastic professionals from US. One of them is Maria Sullivan. Is a very dear friend of us. Have been working with us for a long time, Maria. We have so many companies that really have been doing amazing results in US with your help. She's an international business development consultant for the channel company, and she'll be able to help with so many different things that you need in US, starting your company, understand the market, and see if you have a fit with the market or not. And also, I would like to call the Phillip Walker. He is also someone that can help you really empower your company in US. He works as a solution provider, the same as a distribuidor in Brazil, but as a solution provider in US. And he also has been working with a lot of companies that we already are in our portfolio here in Brazil, and help you guys on this process to find a partner in US or start your process in the United States, selling to someone or finding someone to sell for you. So welcome, Maria and Phillip. It's such nice to have both of you here today. I hope we have an amazing afternoon. And like I said to you yesterday, to both of you yesterday, we usually don't have that many people, but later on, you're going to have a lot of people that watch it. So I'd like to ask you to add your contacts. I'm going to put your LinkedIn contact here on the chat on YouTube so people have it. And if they contact us directly, we can introduce you, both of you, by email. So Maria and Phillip, if you want to talk a little bit about yourselves, give a little bit summary of the experience that you have. Let me give Phillip here.
Sure.
And then we can start the presentation.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Anna. It is such a pleasure to be here, and especially working on this webinar project with you. The initiatives that you've put in place at Softex, and the passion that you have for working with these companies and ensuring their success is phenomenal. It really is. I have the pleasure of working with international trade agencies from around the globe. Everyone on the line here, all of the technology companies, it's wonderful to work with Anna. She is there for you to help you, hold your hand, whatever you need. I know she's up really late at night when I am as well. So, and I'm here to help you as well. So Softex, it will be participating at the Midsize Enterprise Summit event. We call it MES for short. This presentation will help you prepare for the event if you're coming to Midsize Enterprise Summit under Softex in the Brazil IT delegation. So this presentation, it's going to be an hour long. It's typically a half a day long. So it's really cramming a lot into 1 hour. We are going to save the last half hour for questions and answers. There's no need to take a lot of notes. What I've done is I've kept a lot of information on these slides so that you don't need to take notes. So I'm not going to read the slides. I may skip over a few slides, but I thought it would be important for you to have to go back later on. I also want to let you know that I am going to try my best to speak slowly. If I'm speaking too fast, please let me know and I will slow down. So with that being said, I want to say hi to everyone out there that I might already know. Thank you for joining. So my name is Maria Sullivan. I am owner of International Business Connect, where I help international companies sell to the US market, and I help represent them in sales. So this presentation is a sales presentation on how to sell, how to win new business in the US. I also work for the channel company in international business development. And again, this presentation is going to help prepare you if you're participating at Midsize Enterprise Summit. And we will talk about that event at the end of the presentation. So I hate to say I have 20 years experience in the business IT sector working with international companies. So now I'm telling you how old I am, right? So I have extensive knowledge in international trade in business. And I have a master's degree in international business and trade from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy. Enough about me. My guest speaker, Phillip Walker. I could have written several slides about his accolades and his accomplishments. Right off the bat, Phillip has been named fastest growing technology integrator by Inc. magazine several times. He's on our VAR 500 list, fastest growing solution provider. The list goes on. He has hundreds of clients.
Anna, did her internet go?
Yeah, I don't know if it is my or hers.
I think, yeah,
Maybe.
I think it's hers.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit until she come back? It could be
her. Realized that the best talent is not necessarily in the US. So he's been in tune to that, and he's been tapping into resources globally to grow his business and offer his clients cutting edge solutions and the best solutions. Phillip, would you mind saying a few more words about yourself before I start the presentation?
You know, that's a whole mouthful there, so I don't know how to follow that up. More than saying that for us, you know, being in IT, as long as I have been, you know, we've grown, you know, our business based on what I consider partnering with best and looking at talent first. And, you know, and realizing that talent's not always going to be 15 minutes or 20 minutes from your office. So that means sometimes working in what we consider a global ecosystem, creating synergies and providing what we consider a best-of-breed solution for clients. Working with international companies, our experience has been is that there's a lot of talent out there, and there's a lot of synergy in terms of delivering solutions. So for us, we see ourselves as a bridge or a vehicle for companies outside the United States in terms of working with clients, engaging clients, and delivering the solutions that they want in a way that works best for the customer, partner, and vendors.
Perfect. Thank you, Phillip. So again, this presentation is a sales presentation on some tips on how to win business in the US market. I do have data slides in this presentation from Gartner, iPad, various analyst firms, which Phillip will be, I'm going to ask Phillip to present those slides on technology trends, sought after resources, because he is actually in the trenches listening to his clients and delivering on these. So with that being said, we do have a pretty packed agenda for today. We're going to discuss who are you selling to and what's important to them, because there's different ways to the US market. We'll talk a little bit about understanding the US business culture. Phillip, again, will talk about some analyst and Gartner data slides on technology trends. I'm going to give you some sales presentation tips. I'm also going to talk about some accelerators on winning the sale and also what delays the sale. We all want new business quickly. So these are some concepts and ideas that I came up with that have actually worked for me and companies that I've coached. We'll also talk about some guiding principles when meeting new prospects. Again, some simple steps on winning the sale. We'll talk about how to define and create your value proposition, or as some people like to say, your elevator pitch. And then I'm going to give you some tips on building your PowerPoint presentation. And lastly, how to follow up with attendees. And again, at the end, we will talk about the Midsize Enterprise Summit event, which is coming up next month. If you would like to join Softex as part of the Brazil IT delegation. So first and foremost, many of you, or I'm assuming all of you, are selling right now your technology, product, solution, or service in Brazil and maybe other markets. If you come to the US market and want to sell in the US market, according to Gartner, now I was with Gartner for 9 years and worked alongside analysts, specifically working with international vendors. Coming from Gartner analysts, the two best ways, entryways into the US market is either direct to the mid-market. Now, I know over here, I don't know if everyone can see my mouse that's twirling around. If you are the vendor and you're selling direct, you can sell direct to large enterprise, mid-market, or small business. Now, Gartner says mid-market is one of the easiest entryways or best entryways because you can actually talk to the decision makers from the mid-market. Small enterprise, yes, you can talk to them as well, but the deals aren't going to be as big, right? So if you're talking to mid-market buying teams, you can get to know them. You can build a relationship with them. And that is selling direct. Now you can also, another great entryway, quick entryway into the US market is selling through a solution provider or distribution. You can see right here. So you're the vendor, you sell to a solution provider, or as some people like to call it in Asia, the middleman, right? You sell to someone like Phillip, who's a solution provider who has hundreds of clients that he has been selling to for years. So now what's important to say is you would not really, I mean, you're going to sell to a solution provider, but you're more going to partner with them. And then Phillip's organization, or a solution provider like network solution provider, is going to represent you and have his sales team selling for you to his current clients. And hopefully they're trying to get new clients on board as well. Now, it's a little bit more, there are more steps when you're selling to a solution provider than when selling direct, right? So if you're selling direct, you're just talking to the business group that wants to buy, hopefully, your solution, right? If you're selling to a solution provider, again, they are the middle person between the end user customer. that is going to be using your technology. So the solution provider, what's nice about selling to them as a nice entryway is they already have clients that trust them, right? So, and this is just a slide on that 90% of purchases recommended by the solution provider or reseller are taken by the end user customer. They've worked together for many years. The solution provider knows the end user client, what solutions they have, which ones they don't have. They understand their business. So when someone like Phillip can say, hey, company X, I have this great solution that I think would fit in perfectly with your current company. And I feel like this is going to make you money or save you money. Those clients listen. So they are considered a trusted advisor. And when they suggest something, the customer typically ends up taking the advice. So if you want to sell to a solution provider, and by the way, we have an exchange event, which Softex is also signed up for, and we hope to bring a delegation to exchange that brings an audience of only solution providers. So at the end of this presentation, we'll talk about the mid-market event, MES, which is selling direct to the end user, CIO, from the mid-market, or the solution provider event, which is exchange. If you are selling to a solution provider, you have to know what's important to them. What's important to them, and Phillip, I would love you to talk a little bit more on when you partner with a new vendor, what you're looking for or what's important to them, what's important to you to either say, yes, I will represent this company, or no, they're not ready. So what's important over the years, and I'm always talking to solution providers on what's important to them, is the quality of your solution, right? The solution provider wants to make sure that your solution is everything that you said it would be. The last thing a solution provider wants is to offer your solution, service, or IT product and have it break, right? Because what that is going to do is it's going to jeopardize the relationship between the solution provider and the end user client. Your solution has to be foolproof as far as providing support to the end user client or to the solution provider, providing training
Maria,
on how to sell, how to support the solution, so that if any questions come up, it can be answered quickly. Yes, Anna.
Okay. Maria, do you want Phillip to come in or no? Because I know you cannot see us.
Okay.
Yes.
So, yes, 1 second, 2 more points. We want to talk about the good business model, right? Obviously, someone like Phillip or a solution provider organization has to make money. So there's a different layer here that you need to think about rather than selling direct. And lastly, ease of doing business with you. No one is going to take you on or represent you in the US if it's difficult to do business with you. You have to be responsive, and you have to, be available, and make it easy to partner with you. So Phillip, can you talk a little bit about what's important to you as a solution provider when you're taking on new vendors?
Well, one of the things that makes the relationship work is, as you said, ease of doing business with. But the main thing is the understanding what we're delivering. And the analogy that I always use is that, when you're delivering pizza and you have a product, a lot of the companies, you are just the ingredient that's going into the delivery of the pizza. So if you have a product or a solution, it's not the entire thing that the customer is buying. They're buying a completed solution, and that may be 1 or 7 different companies. And it's my job to manage all those relationships, deliver a price, and then execute to the end user. I said, so that's the idea of being able to integrate well with other pieces, being able to work with, someone who understands how that synergy works, and being part of the bigger puzzle for the end user to provide a bigger portion of the pie.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Phillip. So if you're not selling to the channel, if you're selling only direct, then you're missing about half of the market, right? So I chose mid-market here as this slide. So we asked the mid-market CIOs, how do you buy your IT? Now, mid-market, for those of you out there, how Gartner identifies the mid-market is an organization with 50 million to 2 billion in annual revenue. And these are the people that you will meet if you decide to participate at the Midsize Enterprise Summit event. So about half of them buy direct, and about half of them buy from their solution provider. So you just don't want to miss those opportunities. So here's where I'm going to hand this over to Phillip to talk about the top strategic technology trends for 2021, as well as the much needed resources that are being sought after today in the United States post-COVID. And the reason I think this is so important to discuss is because when you are meeting new prospects in the US, you have to get in their mind and know what is important to them. Yes, they may be looking for a certain specific solution or for you to fulfill a certain project for them, but it's good to have an overall understanding of what's important. So Phillip, would you mind taking the next 2 slides, please? And tell us, is this what your clients are asking you for? And is this, true to life with your clients? Because I know you're out in the trenches talking to your clients every day.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I would say, that the conversations have gone is, did COVID push your IT budget forward, or did technology push it forward? Obviously, COVID pushed clients faster down the adoption rate in terms of what they wanted. The great thing about this slide is it gives you not just products, it actually is giving you the sum of what a customer would want and the end result of what a customer would need. When you talk about total experience, we're not talking about just customer experience, we're talking about individual experience as well. So what you're seeing is people that are updating their internal tools so they can provide better service. So there's some DevOps, there's some software in that piece of it as well. And then that gets into the total experience to a customer. Privacy enhancing is going to be one of the biggest things as people are now working from home. And not having access to, the Fortress, office in terms of cybersecurity. They're also going to be looking at cybersecurity mesh in terms of not being location dependent, but to be able to go with the end user. So you're going to look at a more agile mobile worker, and you're going to look at people wanting a more flexible approach in terms of delivery. So in the mobile first world, that is going to build the platform for the things that we've been waiting for, the intelligent, combustible business. So you're going to see ERP, data lakes, business analytics starting to drive more behaviors and more purchases for customers, which gets into the hyper optimization of companies. So realizing that everybody sees where their holes are, but these technology trends are the ones that are happening currently right now. We actually have 4 active projects based on this list now that have started in the last 30 to 60 days from companies that we didn't consider next gen, or companies that we would consider looking for these type of things.
Perfect. Thank you, Phillip. So is this something you see as far as this is just IT skills in the demand? This is the 68, and I know it's very small, this slide. You'll all have a copy of this, following the presentation. But this just lists the highest demanded IT skills. here in the US. So Phillip, is this typically what you would find? Would you mind going through a few of these and telling us, is this the skills that your clients are asking you for?
Yeah. So as we're doing, filling the bench or supporting a lot of clients, obviously the demand for Kubernetes is gone high, and that is driven by the data lakes and the need for analytics and the smarter technologies. So with that is a demand for um, storage management. Data scientists have reached what we consider that apex piece in terms of the hiring scale and demand of a market. What you're also going to see that's in the middle, but you're going to see a huge growth in here, is that agile software development. Platform as a service is number 6. Infrastructure as a service is number 5. So you're starting to see people go to these platforms versus custom, but there's still room for continuous integration. So if you take those first 6 things all the way up from agile up to Kubernetes, what you're seeing is that hyper automation, data analytics, AI driven business trying to make leaps and bounds. And that's creating that demand for more IT work and more service providers to get in. It is a great time to be in this space now, because in the next year, you'll see a lot of purchasing, a lot of customers looking for different types of models, and the legacy skills starting to really decline as some of these niche and core things become more and more critical.
Great. Thank you. All great information to have walking into a meeting. Now, I know I've worked with the Brazilian companies, many Brazilian companies over the years. I know application development has always been up there high on the list for some of the services that are provided. I just wanted to give a quick slide on application development. It still is much needed, but the change I've seen in application development, if you're selling to a solution provider, is definitely low code, no code. Now, I know you spoke about agile software development as well, Phillip, but this is just something that we are seeing. There still is a continued need for application development skills here in the US. Okay, so digital spending. I've been on a lot of Gartner webinars lately, trying to get educated or keep myself educated on the digital wave here. And CEO intentions for digital spending, as you can see, is very high. I think with COVID, companies have realized that, using the Brazilian term here from Robert Jansen, go digital or die. So 82% are planning to spend on digital transformation in their digital business. And the important thing to note here is that there are 3 areas of digital business. Something I hear often is from a vendor is that their company does digital transformations. It's much more than that. Digital transformation, when you say that to a US client, is sometimes scary because it involves such a big change, right? So I put this slide in here because if your company does help clients with digital transformation, don't forget to tell them that some of the other projects that you work on are also digital business optimization and digital technology enablement. So as the previous Gartner slide said, 82% of leaders will invest in digitalization in 2021. 90% of companies spend money and time on digital optimization. Now, optimization, as you all know, is increasing efficiency or decreasing cost. How can we use digital to grow the business, gain income, or save money? Most companies do not spend money on digital transformation. And this coming directly from Gartner is because it involves too much of a change. This is going to be a long sales cycle for you. So digital transformation is creating a revenue stream where none existed before, or saving money. So if you're doing digital transformation and that's how you're positioning yourself, please don't forget to talk about digital optimization. This is going to help you win a deal quicker with US clients. And this is just, transformation versus optimization. We already spoke about this. Transformation is new business models, net new revenue from products and services. And again, the optimization piece is improved productivity and efficiency, better customer experience. Okay, moving right along in the essence of time, understanding the US business culture. I thought this is something very important for you to know because culture is different in the US. I know many of the Brazilian companies that I've worked with in the past, they'll be at a networking event, like a reception, and, they're afraid to have a beer or a glass of wine with the US CIOs. They think it's, they're trying to win business. They want to do the right thing, but it's okay. The culture is it's okay to have a beer or a glass of wine if other people are enjoying the same thing, and to get to know someone on a personal level. So I'm just posing a question out here, and those of you that know me, you know the answer to this question because I seem to ask it in every presentation. But here's the question for those newbies out there. So they say in the US that over 90% of business is done on the golf course. So is this true or is this false? And by golf course, I mean a social event. So it could be maybe taking a client to a sporting event where, you go watch a basketball game. It could be taking them out fishing on one of those fishing charters. It could be a nice dinner at a hopefully fancy restaurant. So answer, true or false? The answer is true. The answer is true because you can spend time getting to know someone. Those people that you're trying to sell to, if you're golfing with them, which takes about 6 hours, they get to know you. You get to talk. And in order for someone to do business with you, the first step is getting to know you. It really is getting to know you on a social level. They always say in sales, people have to like you to do business with you. So the answer is true. Please take advantage of the social networking events with your potential clients. We do offer many of them at NES and the exchange event. So there is again, high placement on social networking. Some other cultural differences. Don't be a robot. My Asian clients will stand there. They're afraid to talk to anyone. They're afraid to ask questions. They'll only answer questions. You want to humanize yourself. You don't want to act 100% business. Yes, you want to be professional, but yes, let people know that you're just like everyone else out there. You're doing your job, you love your job, and you enjoy what you do. Be on time. Anna, I'm so proud of you. You started this. Well, you're always early, by the way. She's lived in the US for a long time. That's why. But this webinar started right on time. 9 o'clock. If you set a meeting for 9 a.m. in the morning, 9 a.m. means 9 a.m. Exactly. I know Latin American culture, it can start later. You're going to turn someone off if you stroll into a meeting late. They always say you only have one time to make a first impression. So start off at the right foot. Do not be late, be on time, and make a great first impression.
Maria, I just want to add that to what you said. It's so simple, be on time. So simple. It's very, very simple, but it could really mess up your whole opportunity. You lose an opportunity because you're not on time. You're not even 5 minutes late. It goes all in the wrong direction. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. And you'll be surprised if you set up a call with US executives and you get on that call like 2 minutes early, everyone will already be on the call. It is our culture to be on the call a few minutes early, already dialed in. So lastly, respect someone's schedule. Read their body language. If someone's looking at their watch, don't keep talking, right? Just know when to say, great catching up with you. Could we continue this conversation at a later time? Also, if your call is from 9 a.m. to 9:30, make sure 5 minutes before the call ends at 9:25, you can say, I know we only have 5 minutes left for the call, and schedules are always tight. Can we make a plan to continue this conversation? Don't wait right up until the very last minute. And whatever you do, don't talk after the time. There's a lot about time right there, right? Okay, moving on. U.S. culture, and I'm looking at my watch to make sure that I'm on time with this presentation. Outsourcing. So Phillip Walker, who's the solution provider, partners with companies, right? He's literally outsourcing because he's not doing it in-house. Any company, if it's an end user client and they're looking for a partner and they're not doing it with their own salaried employee, they are outsourcing. However, we do not use the term outsourcing. Outsourcing does have a negative connotation to it. Back when it was first being used, it was thought of as replacing US jobs. So you just want to come up with different words for outsourcing. You can use staff augmentation services. We work in digital optimization as an extension of your team. And you want to always be available on the person's timeline. Okay, moving right along. I hope I'm not talking too fast. Please type in the chat to Anna if I'm talking too fast and I'll slow down.
No, it's perfect, Maria. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. So if you come to Midsize Enterprise Summit, or if you don't, you are going to have to prepare sales presentations, right, to your prospects. Here are a few tips on creating a great presentation that sells. So you want to basically place your strongest point in your first and last slide. You want to, within your first or second slide, you want to say, what is your IT solution or service? At one of the past MES events, one of the comments from an attendee, because if you participate at MES, we give a survey form to everyone that listened to your presentation and they rate you. They tell you if they want more information. It's a form they fill out. But one of the comments from one of the attendees was, I had no idea what this company did until 10 minutes into the presentation. That is just, it's valuable time that vendor threw out the window. You want to make every moment count. At MES, the presentation is 25 minutes. If you're sharing a presentation with another Brazilian company, let's make sure you have a great presentation in 10 minutes. Okay, so right off the bat, what do? Who are your ideal clients? This will make people listen. Oh, this solution is for the retail vertical. I'm in the retail vertical. And how are you different than the competitor, right? It always comes down to that. Now, if you participate at mid-size enterprise, you're not only going to have to differentiate yourself from the American companies out there, right? You may have to differentiate yourself from other Brazilian companies that do the same thing. So dig deep and figure out how you are different. One way you can do this is ask your clients, why did you select us over the competitor? I asked this when I was in sales roles. I was surprised sometimes on why people selected to work with the company I was representing, the vendor company I was representing, over the competitors. Some of them were certifications. I remember one was that it was a single point of contact throughout all the projects. Another was that over 95% of the business that grew in this vendor company was from recommendations. So if you need help on how you're different, we can set up a separate call and we can work together on how you're different. Now, ways to achieve telling how you're better and different than your competitor and why people should buy from you is through a story, right? So tell a story. People like this. There's this whole big presentations now on storytelling. Client slides mean a lot. No one wants to be the first person to work with you. If you can put some companies' logos up there, why people worked with you and have them say why the benefits or list the benefits that they achieved by working with you, that's what's really going to sell. If you have time, depending on your solution, you can give a demonstration of how your technology works. I don't know if Total Docs is out there listening. One of the presentations from the last event, they can send a document to the mobile phones, right? They're a paperless solution. So something I did was, in working with Total Docs, I said, I'm going to ask several of the attendees in your boardroom for their mobile phone numbers so that they can actually see what this text looks like. So as they were presenting and as I was helping them present, attendees said, oh, I got this great message. Wow, this is what it looks like. So nothing beats a good presentation. So moving right along here, have about 20 minutes left. Giving your presentation. Please keep in mind the average attention span. I know for myself, I have a short attention span. You have all of my attention for 15 minutes, and then it starts going down. So that's why put those strong points first in your presentation. Really explain what makes you great and better than the competitors in the first slides. It's funny. So I did ask my children, I don't know how many of you out there have children that do TikToks, and they're always on their phone and they're watching their videos. I said to my Savannah, so Savannah, tell me, this says 2.7 minutes for the average length of a video watched. Is this true? She said, no, Mama. I said, well, how long? She said, about 30 seconds, and then I'm on to the next one. So please keep this in mind. They say for emails, if you're sending an email, 7 seconds. People will read an email for about 7 seconds before they stop reading it. Okay, storytelling. I put this picture in of a little baby with, the parent reading a book to them because, I just remember when I have 3 children, and I remember I read to them every night when they were little, and they really loved it because it was something visual that they could see, right? And, I made sure that I changed my voice. The fox obviously had like the deep, mean voice, while, the girls or the cute little animals had different voices, and it's just entertaining. Now, I'm not saying, change your voices or anything, like, you don't want to go too far in that. You want to make sure people know that you're sane. But if there is a chance to get excited about something, tell a story from the client perspective. If partnering with you or using your solution saved a client millions of dollars, well, hey, that's something to get excited about, right? If you are able to bring them in a new revenue stream, that's something to get excited about. You don't have to have that monotoned voice when you speak. So be a good storyteller and recall those days when you used to tell stories to your children. They say that you have to win people over with emotions first when you're telling a story, and then give them the logic. Make it personal to them. Speak to them so that they remember you. And, when you bring that emotional piece, when you're building your communication, try to get them to feel something. So, you could give an example of, excuse me. Wow, my power cord here is coming out. I'm getting too excited. When you are telling a story about, let's just say you worked on a client project, it had a deadline. You and your team stayed up all night working to make sure that you made this deadline. You can tell the story of, our team was up so much, we had Dunkin' Donuts coming in by the little carry. They have those little carry baskets, right? And we were so filled with coffee that we couldn't sleep all night, but our stomachs felt great with the little munchkin donuts, right? You're almost painting a picture to someone of how your team felt. So if you can add an emotional piece, people will remember it. So again, your first slide, start with the thing that matters most to your audience. Do not start with company statistics, locations, how many employees you have, how your revenue grew year over year. I've seen some of the largest, best companies, vendor companies, start with those statistics. My advice to you is take them, crumble them up, and throw that away. No one cares in a first presentation of your statistics, how many awards you've won, or where your global presence is. Get right down to the heart and meat of your solution and why you're better, especially if you only have 25 minutes. Now, if let's say your solution is new and you don't have any clients, it's a possibility. I've represented companies that are looking for their first client. You can put in potential. Have a slide on the potential of your IT solution. Potential does sell. And you can also address the losses, right? So you can address the gains of partnering with you using your solution. Or what does this company have to lose if they don't partner with you? So make it personal with a point of view and stakes, right? Your unique point of view on what needs to be done, and a what if. What if this client decides to partner with you? What is the end result? And what if they don't? So, they say, and this has been out here for a long time, an idea without a beneficiary, without someone to gain, right? Something to gain, is an idea without stakes. And if you're not gaining anything, well, then you don't have any ROI. So there we go. Client slides. I was explaining how important it is in your presentation to speak from the client's perspective. What you do, how you're better, what are the benefits of working with you? This is just a quick slide. I mean, if you gave a 25-minute presentation, first slide, what you do, and then if you could have 4 or 5 client slides similar to this one, here was the client, here's what we did for them, the technology, and here were the results or savings to them. This is what's going to sell a US executive. Phillip, do you mind speaking quickly on presenting? Because you present to a lot of clients. If the Brazilian companies were to just, take my advice on the points that I mentioned, is that enough? Am I missing something, or is that enough?
No, absolutely. It's a good point, and it's laid out in a format that's easy to follow. One of the things that we teach our sales reps, especially in giving presentations, is to address the pain. What is your solution product solve? Mm-hmm. Right? If you can start there, then you can get people more engaged, and they can understand, a little bit about your product, because then they can relate. Because it's easy if I say, oh yeah, I have that issue, I'm going to pay attention more than the average person in the room, because I want to know how you're going to solve it for me. If I come in and say, well, this is my product, and then I have to kind of imagine what it does, not everybody's going to be able to see it that way, and it puts the pressure on the person presenting to bring it home. So in order to balance it out, what we do is, hey, we're going to start with customer first. What are the things that they are going through, and how do we solve them? And we do 2 slides on their pain points, and then 3 slides on how we solve it. And then we get into speeds, feeds, and, and all that stuff, and why we're better, and, and picking us. But we speak to those things to make sure that people see that. Like, what is the pain that they're going through? How are we going to cure it? And then after that, then we get into the technology.
That is great. And I always take notes. I'm always trying to add to these presentations on valid points. And this is really why it's such a benefit to have Phillip on this call. I mean, you're not trying to sell to me, right? You're trying to sell to someone like Phillip. So the advice that he can give you and the points that he makes, I feel, are truly, truly valuable. I'm going to be adding that to the presentation. Address the pain points and how you solve the pain points. Thank you, Phillip. So we're only going to present for about another 10 minutes or so, and then we will open it up for questions. So you'll have to excuse me if I go quickly for the rest of the slides, but I just want to make sure we have time for questions. But I'm more than happy to schedule one-on-one meetings with anyone that would like additional information. So presenting virtually and presenting live. The Midsize Enterprise Summit event, which is May 3 to 6, that Softex is leading the Brazil IT, or forming the Brazil IT delegation. That event is a virtual event where you would be presenting virtually to a group of CIOs or IT decision makers. And I'm going to help you build your presentation. We'll review your presentation. But there are some things to keep in mind when you're presenting virtually. Now, with COVID, obviously, we've had to adjust our presentation communication. You don't need to, if you're live, you can walk around the room, you can amplify your voice, right? When you're presenting virtually, you can't use the body language the same way, because people can't see all of you, right? They can only see some of you. So with that being said, make sure what they can see is the right thing. Make sure that you're centered, and you're speaking at the camera. I can't tell you how many calls that I am on where the person is like up here. You can only see their chin, or they're way down here and their face is cut off. It's distracting. And to be honest, you're waiting for them to adjust themselves. And when they don't, it's just, again, you only have one time to make a good impression. Make sure that you are centered appropriately and know where your eyes are. So right now I'm looking, my camera is at the top of the screen, and I hope that I'm looking dead on, straight on to everyone. But it did take some getting used to, because I'm kind of looking at nothing. I'm looking above my screen. But I know for the people I'm presenting to, that it appears that I'm looking them in the eye and presenting right to them. So please know where your camera is. And, don't be afraid to use your voice, your breath, your body language, and maybe even your silence on Zoom. So if I just pause for a minute, could take a power break. What just happened? Everyone listened, right? They were waiting for the next word. So don't be afraid to even use your pauses. If a client is speaking, something that I like to do and recommend is you can go into the camera a little bit. Let them know you're really listening, right? So just a few things to keep in mind. So here's something that someone asked me. One of my Argentinian companies was, hey, I'd like to surprise them with humor in my presentation. What do you think about this, Maria? So what do you guys think about it silently? I do not suggest it. I do not suggest using humor, unless it is humor that you know is just humor and that you know people will laugh at, right? Or get a chuckle out of. You could, humor is different across countries. And you don't want to insult someone. Just, you got to be careful, right? So I don't suggest using it. I don't suggest using any sign any language like, yeah, okay. I mean, hand signals, watch your humor, because it can negatively affect your credibility. So be conscious of that. And if you're going to give an example, know a little bit about being multicultural. I had one person go on and on about a cricket example. I don't know what cricket is. You guys might know what it is. May not. I'm talking you and I, Brazilian and American. So just be careful. What to avoid in your presentation, in addition to humor, right, is historical facts, right, or fun facts. We talked a little bit about this. Your office locations, long introductions. If you're introducing your CEO, we don't need to know, great that they went to MIT, great that they won awards. You can save that for the second, third meeting. First meeting, first presentation, what do you do? What makes you better than the competitor? We can add Phillip's pain points, right, and how you solve them. Okay, how to win the sale. For all of you salespeople out there, right, you should not be selling just to one person. Many people say my ideal client is the C-level executive. It's the IT decision maker. It's the CEO. Those days are long gone. You do not sell to one person. You sell to a business. It's very rare that one person makes a decision on a technology solution, because it affects other groups. I mean, mainly security. Security is anything new being implemented into an organization needs that security officer, in the calls, in the negotiation calls, right? So just remember, it is going to accelerate your sales if you can bring more people into your calls. So you might bring someone from accounting into your calls, right? How is this going to affect them? Maybe it affects the marketing people. You want the IT people on your call. Now, it could be uncomfortable saying to a potential client, oh, by the way, I know you're interested in this solution. I know it's your final decision, but we need more people in on our calls. They may not want to bring more people in on the call, right? So you have to tell them the benefits of why others that are affected by the solution should be in on the call. And always think of quality and let them know this is because of quality. That you're looking at this from A to Z within their organization. When you can bring multiple people in and address the concerns of everyone in the group, you're delivering a higher quality deal. Because later on, there's no surprises. Oops, I didn't know this. Oops, this didn't integrate well here. Oops, this person needed 3 weeks of training that we didn't realize they needed. So, and organizations are telling Gartner that they feel of all vendors they work with, they only feel that 27% of them are giving them a high quality deal. So think high quality. Be trustworthy, right? Do the right thing. Give them a positive experience. Show them you know your product, that you are the expert in your product knowledge. And help customers achieve the expected value that they demand, right? And that they want. And of course, demonstrate an understanding of the customer situation. This is what builds the buyer confidence. So you want to definitely guide your prospects, act like you're a member of their team. Discuss the what ifs. If you can bring up things that maybe they didn't even think of, that totally elevates you as a partner. They know that you're looking out for their well-being. And share the lessons learned. You can say, hey, you know what? We sold our solution to a company very similar to yours. And, what we found out was we really needed to bring that security officer into the meetings at the very beginning. This is going to help you win these deals quicker. It's going to not delay them. And it's not going to throw you any curveballs either. What else delays the sale is not having a day and time to speak again. If you get anything from this presentation, make sure to remember to set a day and time to speak to your prospects again. They say once you're out of their calendar, it's so hard to get them in your calendar again. So make sure you have a day and time to speak again, address the security concerns. And here's a new one. Eliminate the handoff mindset. So there's many times we have, and especially for my international companies who have US people, maybe they hire someone to give their presentation. If someone in the audience connects with the sales rep, they want that sales rep on future calls. It's a turn off to them when, yes, they agree to a call, but now they're speaking to Joe. Who's Joe? Who's Phil? Right? We don't know these people. So make sure at the very minimum, your salespeople are on the first few calls with your prospective client. Make them feel comfortable. Introduce these other people of your team as your subject matter experts, right? The ones that are going to help them the most. But just have that salesperson on the first few calls. Why the long sales cycle? You guys can review this later on, but basically this is the information that your new prospect wants. Sometimes they want all of these things before they say yes to you. They want case studies. They want to hear from some external consultants. They want white papers. So you know what? Have it ready. When you are meeting new prospects, you're going to plan wisely. You're going to know your clear, concise value proposition. You're going to bring customer testimonials and logos, and you're going to keep it simple. While you're communicating, every communication with your new prospect should be building a relationship with them. And always remember to set a day and time to speak again. So we're running out of time, so I'm going to go through this quickly. Again, I'm happy to jump on a call one-on-one to go in detail on any area of the presentation. You're going to meet prospects at the MES event. We also have a live event in September. We have the exchange event that brings solution providers. That is a live event. You can be meeting these attendees at the booth, the networking functions, the speaking sessions. So, take advantage. There's no substitute for face-to-face relationship. So take advantage of everything that the event has to offer. Set up as many face-to-face meetings as you can. And of course, if someone confirms a meeting with you, make sure you Google them. You connect with them on LinkedIn. It's a great way to start a first conversation. Again, you only have one time to make a first impression. So if you're Googling the attendee, you can say, oh, I see you went to Tufts University. I lived in Boston. I know Tufts University. Or you can say, oh, I saw on your website, your company just won this award. This is a good one, because usually when I use that, the person says, really? Oh, I didn't know that. So sometimes you can show them you know more than them, right? So just be prepared. Make sure that you build your horizontal contacts when you are on calls. Again, you're not selling to one person, you're selling to the team. And how many of you have sold to one person and then that person leaves? Your decision maker left, and now the new person you don't know, and they don't want to work with you. They want to bring their own people in. They want to do things different. So I can't say enough about building your horizontal contacts and selling to the team. As Phillip said, you want to listen to your client, understand their goals, understand their pain points. Don't talk too much. I was on a call with I brought a development company on a call. I think they were looking for, Power BI with a US client out here in Boston. The vendor company kept talking, and in between each sentence would say, and our team does this and this and this. And there was no pause for the client to speak. I had to interrupt him and say, okay, that's great. Karen, do you have any questions you'd like to ask? So make sure you're not talking too much. Make sure you take pauses so that the conversation can be interactive. It's much more dynamic that way, much more interesting, and you can gain more out of it. Your value proposition needs to be clear, concise, on target with what executives are looking for. That's why, another reason I gave you those data slides that Phillip presented. You want to make sure your value proposition is in line with what the technology trends are. What are the resources that are needed? Again, know how to distinguish yourself from the competitor, why they should buy from you. And if you're a good listener, you can listen to your client's value proposition. Your client's goals, and relay your value proposition back to meet their goals. And I can help you with that. Here's just some tips on crafting your value proposition. We already discussed much of this. Clear, concise, how are you different, and why should that person buy it or use it? Now, if you're on calls, you have a series of calls with your prospects, everything's going great, but they're not saying yes. If they're not buying from you, then they don't understand the value. They always say if you have a great product or solution and people aren't buying it, then they don't understand the value. They somewhere have an objection. It is great when someone can say, hey, Brazilian company, I would like to buy from you, but I think maybe there's a language barrier here, and that, you know, where Portuguese is the first language and it's not English, we may not be able to understand your team. That's an objection they have, and it's an objection that they told you. So that's great, because you can overcome that objection. You can prove them wrong. You can say, hey, for our next call, why don't we get our lead developers on the line? The people that will actually be in charge of your project, and you can tell us what you think of their English skills. Great, you've overcome their objection. However, there may be more. And what's difficult is when they don't tell you what their objection is, that you have to guess. You have to guess why they're saying no. And you have to set that. You have to uncover those objections, and you have to put that as an itinerary for your next call. You can say, great, thanks for your time on today's call. For our next call, why don't we get a client on the line? You know, they were hesitant about using our solution, but it saved them millions or thousands. It's made their workload easier. How about our next call? We bring that client on the line. They can speak about 5 minutes, 10 minutes on what a transformation it's made. I'm looking forward to the questions afterwards. So, objections with resellers or solution providers with Phillip are typically ease of doing business with you, your quality and support. So it's additional objections when you're working with solution providers. It's not just the end user objection. It's the objection of working from the solution provider. This is typically when it's a half-a-day training. We go around the room. We talk about what your common objections are that you receive. And then I give some advice on how you can overcome them. Okay, we only have like maybe 2 minutes left. I'm sorry, I'm going over here. Most important step, always set a day and time. My goal on every sales call that I do, if I'm representing a technology company and I have a client on the line, my goal is always to set a day and time to speak again. Before I hang up that phone, we're locked in on a day and time. And it could be 3 months from now. 3 months comes around really quick. Typically, it's a week or two, but sometimes it's 3 months. Well, great. Put the 3 months in your calendar and gain agreement. On each call, uncover objections, set a day and time to speak again, and add value. No one is going to take a call with you if it's not valuable to them. So now I'm really going back, saying my age. So when I worked at Comdex in sales, if a contract came through on the fax machine, that's when the contracts would come through on the fax machine. We had this bell. We'd ring the bell, right? So everyone knew. It was like the sales team were all on one floor. And it was like, oh, great. You know, who rang the bell? Who got the contract in? So that's when we used to ring the bell. However, I want to ask you guys, when should you ring the bell? Should you wait until you get a contract? For me, you should be ringing the bell when you add value. When you add value, you uncover objections and you determine how you're different and better. That's when you should ring the bell, and according to me. So this is a link. You'll all have this presentation. I'm not going to go over it, but it's getting buyers to open and respond to your email. So the link is here. You can click it. Needs a good subject line, an offer, an ask. When you're following up with attendees that you meet maybe at Midsize Enterprise Summit, your subject line should be important. It should not be a Midsize Enterprise Summit follow-up. Well, that person is going to get 50 of those. If you spoke about motorcycles, maybe riding enduro, you can write enduro follow-up, MES. Oh, I remember we talked about riding enduro. Yeah, I'm going to open this. I know this guy. This guy was cool. Very short and sweet. Again, people only read an email for 7 seconds. Important thing in here, you have a day and time to speak again. And you're offering to call them directly on their line. I myself do not ask people to dial into, as an initial first follow-up, I call them direct. If I have their business card and it's their mobile, I put it right in there, right in the calendar invite. I'll call your office directly. So specific day and time, great subject line. And then after I send the follow-up email, I send the calendar invite right after. This way they get 2 touches from you after you've met them. 1 day prior to the call, I send a brief agenda, just a few bullet points. Now you've contacted this prospect 3 times and you're in their calendar. And typically they take the call. A majority of them are going to take the call if you follow these steps, okay? Step 4 is do the same thing all over again. So final thoughts. Okay, we're coming up to our last slides here. The MES events. So for those of you, I will be working individually with each of you to prepare you for Midsize Enterprise Summit. I work alongside Anna. The event is May 3 to 6. I kindly ask you, if you do want to participate, if you could let Anna know ASAP so we can start working, building your presentation, your value proposition. I gave Anna a list of attendees with their contact details and how to find them on LinkedIn so that you can connect now before the event begins and start building a relationship with them. This all takes time. We have less than 1 month, so please let her know ASAP. Here's the exchange event I was talking to you about. Softex is signed up for this August event where you will be meeting people like Phillip, solution providers. This is our dear friend, Robert Jansen. This man is amazing presenting, amazing presenter. This is what a boardroom looks like. So if you were to come live to the September event, MES in the fall, exchange in August, this is what the room looks like. Again, we work with you on your presentation and your presentation skills. Both exchange and MES offer a level playing field. All the booths are primarily the same size. This is great for my international companies. Your booth is the same size as Intel, HP. So they call it a true democracy when I present this in Korea. So we also have, if you wanted information, let's say you don't want to go to the event, but you are interested in the US market, I am more than happy to recommend to you great lead generation services. Where you would pay a monthly fee and get leads. We work with you. Who is your ideal prospect, your ideal client? And then we give you leads monthly for your sales team to follow up with. There's also a channel program. Now, many of you may not be selling to the channel. It involves multiple steps on having a good channel program. We are putting together an educational program before the Exchange August event and the MES live event. It's a 1-day educational program on how to build a channel. There is a fee to this, but it is phenomenal. So any recommendation you need here, I'm happy to provide you with. And that is it. You'll all get this presentation. Here's my contact details.
Hi, Maria. Hi, Maria. Anna is sorry. She had a super important meeting to join. So I continue here. There's no problem. First of all, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Phillip wants to add anything. Phillip, if he wants to join us. Yeah.
Hey,
Hi, Phillip. Hi, Phillip. Maria, great to see you. Phillip, nice to meet you. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Very good, very good. So, one more time, thank you for your presentation. You're both. Let's start with some questions. I have here from Pedro. Pedro, he says, "Hi guys, very good presentation. I want to talk with Phil. So, if you don't mind, I will share your email with them. Just to remember, just to remind you, all the webinar is recorded, and we're gonna send for all the audience, and they will have your email to get in contact. All right. For the next comments, everything. Let me see. Alexandre Pauleski. Yeah.
Oh, Alex.
He's from an important company that is part of the sectorial project Brazil IT Plus. He says, "Hi Phillip, how do you see the market for IT monitoring, IT backup, restore, DR management? Please, Phillip."
The backup and restore space is actually heating up here in the United States, just because a lot of especially what happened in Texas with people losing electricity for so long, not having access to their computers, and they weren't able to they found out that their backups were not adequate and weren't able to restore. So there's been a few major issues that have brought that what we considered a nice to have solution to a must have solution here in the last 120 days. So I would see that market picking up. IT monitoring is always the table stakes in terms of what we do here in the United States. It just depends on what you're monitoring and what feedback you're giving to the customers, but definitely a growth market for both.
Okay, I agree. Maria, do you want to add anything?
No, Phillip's the expert there. So,
yeah.
Thank you, Phillip.
The expert, he knows everything. So let's continue. Diego says, what are the main concerns American mid-sized companies have when hiring nearshore companies? If you two want to share with us your ideas, let's start with Maria, if you want.
Yeah, sure. So they want to make sure, I would say, if you're coming to MES, there's no need to say we're a Brazilian company. We're a global company, right? One thing COVID has taught, and it's worked so well for my international companies, the vendor does not have to be in the backyard anymore, right? Someone used to say, I'm in the Northeast, I want someone in the Northeast. Now it doesn't matter, right?
Yes.
So, I would say the concerns are you want to be available when they are available. That's what I see as the main concern. For some reason, there is something in their mind that because the company is not located in the US, that they're not going to be available when I'm available. I would say that is the biggest concern. I mean, obviously, when you're with your clients, your expertise is what they're going to be, most concerned with. So make sure to have your subject matter experts there. Make sure to address the points that we discussed in the presentation, and building the presentation, as Phillip said, the pain points, what you can solve for them. So that's all I'd have to say. How about you, Phillip?
If we want to be proactive in your presentation, speak to the compliance and regulatory things that might be going on in the United States to show that that what they might be going through. So you take away the objections before they become an objection. Right. So if if GDPR is an issue, you can let them know that, hey, we're not going to, this is how we work with clients to be in compliance with these things. Adding that in there, those little tidbits build confidence in a way that it doesn't matter where you're at, because they're, at this point it's about the technology and no longer where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. Ana, you already know who she is, Ana Beatriz. She added with this comment: the U.S. market has so many opportunities, and the tips that Maria is giving now are key to start your success there. And all the companies, you are sure that we have best opportunities to increase the success from the companies. All right. Regina says, I'm loving these tips. Maria is great. Maria has a lot of fans here.
Yay!
Let me see. I'm checking another question. Just a second.
Thank you.
Jessica,
My pleasure.
Jessica asked us, Maria, what types of IT solutions do you think are most attractive to the American market? That's a great question, Jessica. Thank you.
So, Jessica, that's the reason I put up the slides there for, what the research is saying the need is. However, Phillip really is the expert because he has hundreds of clients, right? So he is really in touch with, hey, what are your clients looking for, Phillip, as far as IT solutions? What's growing? What do you need more of? What are the best opportunities maybe for the Brazilian companies? In what areas?
If you're just going off the list and off the top of my head, I would say cybersecurity or anything cybersecurity mesh in that piece is going to be a great attractive market. An emerging market's going to be blockchain and AI, business driven. A third one's going to be data scientists, data analytics, and anything that has to do with data management and things of that nature. And then if you go from a software DevOps standpoint, anything from platform as a service is going to grow. So you're going to see the increasing of APIs, marketplace, and a need for apps and marketplaces.
Good.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Phillip, one more thing. Phillip, would you say that's across the board? Because you represent small companies, mid-size, and large enterprises. Are we talking across the board, or are those solutions mainly mid-size, large enterprise?
Across the board, because a lot of the small companies realize that the less expensive tools that they were using before didn't really fit the business when they needed to go remote. And as this digital transformation starts to happen, as people are starting to evaluating their tools, they're starting to see that some of these solutions aren't that expensive and what it can do for their business once they get, on board. So in the past, you wouldn't see small business using Salesforce. Now you're starting to see smaller companies using Salesforce. You wouldn't see a smaller company using unified communications, i.e. Slack or things like that for communications. And now you're seeing a higher adoption on Slack. No one was using Zoom before COVID happened. Now everybody's using Zoom. So you're seeing an adoption rate of, if you will, digital solutions that are a lot higher than in the past.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phillip. Leandro said it was a great opportunity to improve our knowledge about our solutions. Thank you for all. Thank you, Leandro, for your participation. Another question in Portuguese, but we can translate. Gilberto said he loved the conversation with Maria. Very clear presentation. And Phillip too. All right. Jessica again, another good question from her. Maria, in general, how are Brazilian solution providers seen by Americans?
I really don't think that there's any, again, I think it's how you're presenting yourself. If you say,
when you put together all the tips, all right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, Phillip, how do you want to answer this? I feel like there's no,
There's not a perception.
yeah,
They
there
see them
is.
see them as solution providers. One of the things that, and I say this from an experience standpoint, when I was introduced to Softex, then I was introduced to Brazilian companies. I had 5 pages of notes in like 10 minutes because it was like speed dating. You know, the pace of the presentations really didn't have a lot of meat on the bone. So I had to do a lot of guesswork. Once we got to a point where the presentations were a little bit longer and we were able to get a lot more detail, the fact that they were located in Brazil or had an office in Miami at that point didn't matter, not to me. What mattered was this solution something that my clients were looking for, and was it something that I could deliver? And then from a solution provider standpoint, it just becomes very gray area in terms of where you're located, because, you know, no one is looking at your location as a qualifier. They're looking at your talent, your skills, and your ability to convey that to them.
Right. I think it's all about the talent. I think it's intriguing. I feel like Americans are intrigued with the Brazilians. I mean, it goes back, I know, I mean, I'm talking age, and a lot of the solution providers are around my age. The day of like hyperinflation, when Brazilians were stocking the supermarkets with canned goods and taking them off at the end of the day and restocking them at a different price, right? And the fact that Brazilians could keep up with that, I think it's left, you know, and I'm not talking like the 30-year-olds, but, you know, I'd say the 40, 50, 60 year olds, if there's solution providers out there, it's left that quality that, wow, Brazilians can do something. Their technology companies can do something that we haven't seen in the US market, right? So they're ready for that. If this happens, I know Brazil has experience in that. So again, you know, with the growth of the need of a data scientist, I think it all ties in, and I think it leaves a very favorable impression.
Okay, we have just one more comment and 2 questions very quickly. Gilberto, Maria, I'd love to discuss our product with you. As I said, we're gonna send their emails for you. We're gonna send them for you, and you can get in touch with them. So let me see the 2 last questions. Marcela says, how is the acceptance of Brazilian products? You can start with Phillip.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we kind of touched on this with the other question, but again, if you have a good product, they will accept, right? I mean, no one's going to return it because it didn't come from down the street. Like if you've got something that's a good product and a good solution, they will absolutely buy it from you.
Right. Now, I think the time zone, you're on the same time zone. I don't think there's any reason to say it, but I know that new prospects and I don't know if this is just because of COVID, because I always worked from my home office. So I was always at home, right? I was working from morning to night, put my kids to bed, start to work again. But what I have found, and Phillip, maybe, you know, I'd love to hear your comment on this. I found that US executives are working like nonstop. And if you can reply to their texts or their emails, that, you know, what we used to consider off hours is now on hours. I feel like it goes a long way, you know, that being out of the country doesn't matter. But if you're replying to my email when I'm sending it at 7 p.m., right, when Americans aren't, I feel like it's adding so much more value. I mean, I'm working with an app development company now. The prospect is in Boston, and she writes me all the time at night, and I'm replying back, and I know she loves it. Phillip, what do you think? Are people working all hours now as a norm?
Yeah, working from home now and with COVID, everybody's just working nonstop and being accessible. So just definitely a good time to get in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. To finish our content today, I have a specific question. I confess I'm curious to know what you have to say about this question. Carlos Time, he works with us at Brazil IT Plus, and he's saying, once an American asked me, why you Brazilian always have to tell a long story just to say yes or no? What else you realize on Brazilian behavior that should be avoiding? Yes, and you can start, Maria. That's a specific question. I told you.
Yeah. So is the question that Americans are saying that you're not concise, that it's a long introduction? Is that? So
no, I think the question is, what behaviors should they avoid or perception from a cultural standpoint?
Yeah, kind of.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I always think it's nice to be direct and concise, but where English isn't your first language, it's difficult. So I think you want to prepare some responses, right? And, I can help with that in English. I mean, my first language was Italian, and we say things backwards, right? So sometimes it's a long, am I saying this correct? So
sometimes happens.
So, I'm more than happy to help you prepare answers to questions so that it culturally aligns to what it would be if it was an American speaking to an American.
All right, Phillip.
I definitely don't know of any things that you guys should avoid. It does sound like somebody was specific, and and maybe that isn't part of it, because I know a lot of Americans who tell very long stories too. So I would say that when you're there to do business, you have to be about the transaction.
Yeah.
It's okay to be social. It's okay to be friendly. It's okay to be nice. But there's also got to be the line that they understand, because they're watching and reading everything that you do. And in social environments, that can be a little bit tricky, because some people get very comfortable too fast, and and that may be too soon for somebody. But my only thing, and I would say that to any person in any country that I work with, is that, hey, people are paying attention. It doesn't always have to be all business, but it also has to be business, right? It's not the friends and family thing. So you have to be mindful, but that's the only thing that I would suggest.
I would also like to add,
Sure,
Carlos, when you are in a conversation with a prospect, don't be afraid to ask for the ask. And I don't know if you understand that, but your conversation should not be just to have a conversation, right? You want to have a conversation with the prospect to ask them something, right? So don't be afraid to, finalize what your conversation is about. To say, are you interested in learning more? That could be your ask. Are you interested in learning more or does this align to your goals? Based on what I have told you so far on how we help companies, does this align to your goals? So it's always nice to be clear, to go to the next steps. Otherwise, people might be afraid to they may feel like the conversations or the next calls aren't getting anywhere. So if you're asking someone to get on a call with you, it's okay to ask them for something.
Oh yeah, that's it. Let me say, I would like to say thank you one more time. Thank you, Maria, for your tips. Thank you, Phillip, for your participation. We wanted to say short words to our audience to finish the webinar. Maria?
Thank you, and I hope to see you all at MES, our exchange, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Phillip, please.
Oh, absolutely. Look forward to seeing everybody at the next 2 events and, you know, getting some new business for you.
All right. Thank you a lot for today. As I said, I will send your emails for them. They will get in contact with you, and they can also get in contact with us from international area. One more time, thank you. See you next time, and see you in our next webinar. Why not? All right.
Thanks.
All right.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Tchau, tchau. Bye, bye. É isso aí, pessoal. Só para finalizar, muito obrigado. Foram ótimas dicas. Eu acho que foi muito proveitoso. A gente conseguiu ver assuntos muito assertivos aí de como lidar com esse mercado americano, né? Que ele tem, tendo ou não, uma cultura, uma especificidade. É muito importante a gente ver o lado de lá. Né? A gente se prepara, e é muito bom, muito proveitoso quando a gente consegue entender o mindset deles. Muito obrigado. Quem não conhece o projeto setorial, em poucas palavras mesmo, para finalizar, que já está bem longo esse webinar, nós trabalhamos com algumas ações aí para focar na internacionalização das empresas. Muitos aqui que participaram já participam com a gente dentro do projeto setorial. E aí fica aí o convite para vocês participarem tanto do projeto setorial, podem mandar um e-mail para a gente em internacional@softex.br, e isso para quem não conhece, né? Para quem conhece, fiquem à vontade para participar também do Midsize Enterprise Summit. A gente está com a chamada aberta, quem já faz parte do projeto setorial ganha esse passaporte para o evento. E é isso. Muito obrigado, pessoal. Obrigado por terem ficado até agora. Acho que foi uma ótima conversa, foi um papo muito bacana, muito objetivo, e eu acho que vocês tiraram muita informação. Até uma próxima, muito obrigado e tchau, tchau.